So Kyle Shanahan had some things to say about our boy Jimmy Garoppolo, so we figured it was the right time for our Jimmy Garoppolo episode spectacular. You're listening to West Coast Offense of 49ers podcast. My name is Caesar, and as always, I got my big brother Alex with me. What's up, bro?
Hey, what's up, man?
Dude, are you ready to get into some Jimmy G talk?
Yeah, I think we just need to clear the air about a few things, you know what I mean?
We got to let the people know where we stand before we get into all of this great content we got for you. Speaking of our content, all of it is on YouTube as well as Apple Podcasts. So do all that good stuff that supports us. Like, subscribe,
Comment,
all that type of shit. Share, tell a friend, tell all of Niner Empire about West Coast Offense of 49ers podcast. So yeah, Kyle Shanahan had a few interesting things to say about Jimmy. And I think the one quote that seemed to be pulled and talked about most was Kyle talking about, he responded to a question about the 49ers front office pursuing Tom Brady. And he had this to say: when you talk to Jimmy about one of the best quarterbacks of all time being available, I know Jimmy has a goal to be that. I know Jimmy believes Jimmy has the ability to be that, and that's what both of us are going for. Mm-hmm. If we can get him there, he has the ability to do that. We're going to be pretty happy with who we have for a long time. So Kyle's thinking that Jimmy can be one of the great quarterbacks of all time. Mm-hmm. Jimmy is such a polarizing figure. Mm-hmm. Just the quarterback position. Al, let the people know where you stand on Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy Garoppolo, man, he's my guy. He's my guy until he's not my guy. And that means he's not the quarterback for the 49ers. You know what I mean? Like, that's just what it is. Mm-hmm. I mean, I supported the move from day one. I thought it, to me, it's still a steal, from what he's given us. Even in just last year, right? He got hurt and all that, and he came later in the year. But, I mean, I see the potential, and I can only see him going up. He probably will have like an MVP caliber type season not too far here in the future. Maybe even next year. Who knows, right? He's my guy, dude. I got to stand by him. Like, there's nobody out there that I would want on this team. And they entertain Tom Brady. Okay, fine. Whatever. Clickbait to me, but to me, he's number
very
one, man. QB1 on my team.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it seems that he got thrown into like the spotlight this season, and he didn't get a chance to kind of ease into like this season. He handled the immense pressure to me with stride, and the scrutiny as well. Yeah. And because his first full season coming off the ACL injury, completely under a microscope, right. And last season, 2018 season, or I guess the season prior or before, where that was supposed to be the year of growth, and we didn't get a chance to see that because of his, foolishness to fucking trying to extend that play against the Chiefs.
I don't know.
Yeah, even though people do feel that his ACL was almost just like a ticking time bomb, it was going to just explode at some point. So, and at the very end of the day, we got both out of it, so it wasn't all bad. Exactly. But
there's upside.
He didn't get a chance to have those, I guess, like learning lessons like on the field. Mm-hmm. It happened all of last year, and it was almost he was a victim of the team's success because all of a sudden, like, if we would have been, I think a lot of people expected us to be maybe 8-8, 9-7, maybe right on the cusp of the last playoff spot in the NFC. But we're going for whole field advantage in the NFC and going all the way to the bowl. So the scrutiny was just crazy with him. And you never really, to me, it just never seemed that it bothered him. That was like one of the things that I admired from his game the most this past season. But do I believe in Jimmy Garoppolo? Can he lead us to the Super Bowl? Like, fuck yeah. We were just, one quarter, one good football game, or one good half, one quarter away from like winning the fucking Super Bowl. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Cementing his
status. Can he be
really,
that guy?
right?
Like, yeah. What was that?
Cementing his status really this year. I think he would have really put a flag on top of that mountain, especially with all the haters.
Yeah, and a lot of fans or even just like the media wants the main reason that your team is winning to be because of the quarterback. You want to win by your quarterback completing 70% of his passes, throwing for 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, and because we weren't doing that, and we're just running the ball down people's throats and winning games for some reason that was reflective on him. Like, to me, that's just, it's asinine. It's stupid as fuck. Like, come on now. And like, we could both agree, like, Jimmy's not perfect, right?
No. He's got flaws.
He doesn't have to be, though.
He doesn't.
No, he doesn't have to be. And that's crazy. Like, why do you think there's this rush to decide what Jimmy Garoppolo is right now? Like, he's only played one full season. He has so much of his career, Lord willing, ahead of him if he stays healthy. Like, why do we feel this need to cement him as one thing or the other? It never made any sense to me.
Could it be that because he was the backup in New England and standing behind Brady, and then Brady has had this career that he's had, maybe he's had kind of a little stigma there? I don't know. Maybe some of that's come into play. I think the numbers spoke for themselves. I mean, you talk about like passing completion. He was number 4 in the league last year, even at 69.1. I mean, even if that's the mark, if 70 is the mark, I mean, that's pretty close, right? 69, 70. Like, come on. A lot of the numbers jump out to him. Jump out that shows he's an elite type of quarterback. I think what happens is people see the hesitation of maybe holding on the ball too long or throwing the ball and it gets picked off. You still see those what you would call rookie mistakes, and I think that's where they pull their the observation from that to say, okay, this is my opinion based on him. He's not there, he's not this, he's not that, and I think that's what I think they base it on mostly.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, and that's something that like Kyle touched on as well, as far as like the interceptions. First of all, yeah, Jimmy's got to cut that shit out. He's got to stop throwing picks. His most favorite thing to do is to throw interceptions to linebackers right over the middle of the field. He's almost good for one a game, or at least throwing a ball right over the middle of the field where my linebacker could have picked it off. So he definitely needs to kind of get over that hump. But when Kyle was talking about Jimmy's tendency to throw interceptions, he had this to say: everyone says learning the offense, Jimmy's learned the offense. Right. He's fine with that. It's just being automatic. It's understanding coverages. I can't tell you how much more I know as a coach in year 17 or whatever than I did in year 2. That never stops. So Kyle knows that Jimmy's kind of still learning, but he's in this. He said he's had such an interesting career where, he's only played one full season, but he's going to be like 29 this year. So he's
That's
far
crazy,
from,
right?
a spring chicken. It's like, dude, you gotta. It's interesting because you want him. He's just like, where do you put him? It's like, is he young or is he a veteran? Like, he's kind of both.
Right.
It's like he's young on the field, but he's also a veteran because of his time spent in the league. But I think that's what's very interesting, and kind of people don't know really where to put Jimmy. Like, where should he be? But I think that's completely okay that we don't know where he's at. This next season, where do you kind of see him? Like, do you expect to see this leap from, I guess more so is 2018 to 19, we should have seen, a pretty big leap.
Right.
If he would have played a whole season, 2018 to 19. But do you think this next season we're going to see that type of leap that we should have seen from 18 to 19?
I think we're going to see a pretty significant stride, if surpass what he's done last year. And the thing is I think it's just a couple things, right? I think he has had a unique career, right, by today's standards. Back in the day, you sat behind the quarterback for 3 to 4 years learning an offense. So you wouldn't even have the chance to even be taking snaps until you're depending on what age you come into the league, let's say 21, 22. So you're starting to actually play, quarterback, 25, 26 years old. And that's about where Jimmy took like, hey, he's the quarterback. This is when he was like in the play of like, all right, he's either going to play for New England or, eventually obviously got traded to the Niners. And that's where he's at, right? It was only a few years ago. He was 27 years old, and he just got to the Niners. So I think that experience is going to help him. And I do see a stride where he's not going to throw these Jameis Winston specials to linebackers over the middle anymore, because really that's the only part of his game that really people can harp on. He's going to recognize coverages better. I truly believe that, and he's going to take a stride, just like if you look back at what Matt Ryan did with Kyle Shanahan-led offense, as an offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. He took that leap into NFL MVP status. I don't see how Jimmy Garoppolo can't take those same steps in that same direction.
Yeah, and I think maybe I was a little overzealous because I think I tweeted before the season of the 2018 season that my MVP of the league was going to be Jimmy, and couldn't have been more wrong. So I was kind of riding Jimmy a little bit too hard as well. But as you kind of just gain some perspective, you're like, okay, he's not a top 5 QB. He's far from it right now. Do the 49ers need him to be that right now to be champions? No, because like I mentioned, we were one quarter away from being Super Bowl champions, and him just kind of scratching the surface of what he could be. Right. And I think for me, I have some faith that, and I don't have this need, I guess, to him to be this top 5 quarterback in the league, just because I also have so much faith in the front office, in Kyle Shanahan, that they're going to put the team around him. So that's almost in a way that they're never going to need him to be this, like, if he gets there, great. Right. If he ends up being one of the best quarterbacks in the league, fucking phenomenal. But we don't necessarily need him to be that. We just need him to be efficient. And how we can do that is just stop throwing picks, dude. Like, stop throwing these picks in, like, crucial situations. And he was almost, like, good for one a game. And
pretty much that out. Just about one a game. Yeah, he threw a few in the playoffs, too. I mean, hold on. Let me tell you this right here. Just listen. Yeah. He was already top 5 in a lot of categories. You know what I mean? If you were to rank, he was top 5 in passing TDs. What are we looking at? Comebacks. Last year he was number 1 in that. He had 4. Yards for pass attempt. There's a lot of things. He's already a top 5, and he's just outside the top 5, being a top 10 quarterback. He's already in the upper third, echelon of NFL QBs. So that's the thing. Is he's not too far away from being that elite QB. That elite QB talk. He's really not that far. And I know you said we don't need that, but he's already outside of that. So he's already given us this. He's going to give us I think he's going to get better and get better and get better. And this offense is just going to be, it's just going to be a machine. It's going to be clockwork. It's going to be things here like you see players like Brady do and, Aaron Rodgers. It's just going to be instincts at one point where you're like, I know where you're at. You know what I'm going to do. And it's going to work. Mm-hmm. And then Kyle knows my game. So it's all going to revolve. And it's just going to be a well-oiled machine. And they're just going to move forward. And they're just going to start bulldozing the NFL. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty scary for the rest of the week if Jimmy if he's only really just getting started. Right. And there are some things that, actually, before I even get into what I kind of expect from this next season, I mean, he should have won Comeback Player of the Year.
Yeah, I don't see how that. Saying?
In a nutshell, if you look at, I'm just going to give him the award. He's my Comeback Player of the Year for 2019. They gave it to Ryan Tannehill, which he got robbed for sure. Yeah. But if you look at his first full season coming back from a massive injury and throws 27 touchdowns. I think he threw for the 4th or 5th most yards in 49ers quarterback history. Yeah. We win the division, get to the Super Bowl, almost win the goddamn thing. Then to think that this dude's not going to get better or for like the rest of the league, you kind of hope that, all right, hopefully he does plateau and everybody or all of the naysayers are right and that Jimmy is what they say, this just really mediocre quarterback. Because if he's not, and I think we're both of the state of mind that he is this upper third of the league quarterback and he can definitely get better, that's fucking scary for everybody else. There are some things he needs to improve on. Stop throwing picks, dude. The deep ball.
Yeah, I mean, there's critiques,
talk about him being under a microscope.
The deep ball, the interceptions. So, I feel like he holds on to the ball too long because he's not seeing what he thought he was going to see. I mean, the fumbles too. I mean, that kind of goes hand in hand. The interceptions, the fumbles,
turnover.
The whole turnover situation. He definitely needs to be fixed. And again, I think he's on that line where he takes care of the ball, throws the ball away, whatever he has to do right then and there, and the numbers are different. Then there's nothing to hang on to.
Do you think he was holding on to the ball, and a lot of the fumbles? I feel like a lot of the fumbles last season was his reluctance to just get out of the pocket, scramble, and use his legs. And that might have just probably also because of his injury.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't want him running around either, though. Like, I'd rather him just go to the ground. You go to the ground, or But there's been plays even last year. He got out of the pocket. Like a couple sack attempts, he got out of there, and he got at least back to the line of scrimmage. If there's one thing we don't need him to be Lamar Jackson out there or Mahomes running around and doing all this other stuff. I don't need him doing that. I need him to take care of the ball.
He was a little bit better last year as far as when he's going to get out of the pocket, get down. I don't recall him too many times just getting leveled and him putting himself at risk. If anything, I think that's what people want him to do more is like, dude, stop being hesitant and just when you see a lane, take it. And I think we saw a couple games, but not too much. I would have liked for him to do that just a little bit more, just take off if it's not there. I think back to the Washington Redskins game where he had a couple scrambles. He just definitely didn't look the same. If you look back at his highlights from when he first hit the scene in 2017, you're like, damn, this dude is really elusive, mobile as fuck. And I always just look at his feet and the way he moved in the pocket. He was just like so light on his feet. He's a ballerina in the pocket. And last year he seemed like he was a little bit more heavy-footed. And this next season, we got to see some improvements on the deep ball. There was like this stat, I forget what it was, about him being one of the better quarterbacks on the deep ball. I don't know. Sometimes
was it like 60% of the deep passes were
something like that?
It didn't feel like that. I was like, what are we pulling the stat from? Because it definitely didn't feel like that. But to tell you, they
say numbers never lie, but I feel like that was definitely a fib.
Let me tell you, the injury wise, like you come back one full year, right? You're not the same. You need that sacking year. Your body has to, acclimate it to the game and what happens out there. So a lot of signs point to, especially with the type of injury that he had, that he's going to be more comfortable with what he can and can't do. And he's going to be able to have faith in what, physically he's able to do and maybe get out of the pocket and run. It's still scary to me for him to run and something happen and then,
it's the franchise when you scramble out of the pocket. Like if he gets decked in it's Nick Mullins time. Yeah. And, I got love for Nick Mully, but
I do. But
he's not the guy though.
QB1 is Jimmy Garoppolo. He needs to take care of the ball. And again, year 2, all signs point to him moving in the right direction. I mean, there's nothing else that tells me otherwise.
Yeah, especially because I think you look at just the evidence from the leap that he took from, let's just take the first few games of the 2018 season versus the Vikings where he just looked completely lost that game. I mean, there was moments that I always think back to, that scramble out of the pocket to his left, throws Dante Pettis in the back of the end zone. Like, he looked good, but he did look a little bit lost that game. The Lions game looked a little bit better, but still a little bit shaky. And then the Chiefs game kind of turned it on later in the third quarter. So if you just look at that really small sample size and you look at the entirety of this past season, I mean, he did make improvement. I think probably the best thing that he did was just stay healthy. Like, just play 16 games, dude, and we got that. That was one of the biggest questions going into last season, is like, can the dude stay healthy? He proved that. He didn't miss any time last year. And I definitely, this next season, I want to see this kind of a huge leap. Not like, if we're talking about, let's just say, without having the list of quarterbacks in front of me, let's just say he's the 13th best quarterback in the league. Like, I want to see him make a leap to where, oh shit, dude, like, you're kind of scratching maybe the top 5, maybe where you're 7, 8, depending,
right.
And I feel that that's the type of player that he can be, and I think he has the potential to be that. So, where do you see him like next season as far as like what do you expect from him next season?
I expect him to take care of the ball more, limit the mistakes, which only will increase his efficiency, and a lot more things are gonna, they're gonna start clicking, and I definitely see him going, man, top 10s for sure. I think he's going to climb.
Like solidify top 10.
Top 10
no
for
doubt
sure.
About
you
it,
can't take that away from that. Yeah. Like I said, even if you take away the mistakes.
Like that's where you expect him to be. Like top 10, no doubt about it. Because there's some people that may say he's the 23rd best quarterback in the league. I guess we're not homers here. So I'm not saying this dude's like, you can name off a lot of better quarterbacks than Jimmy Garoppolo. But he's definitely not the 24th, 25th best quarterback in the league. But he's more so closer to right now, a 13th, a 12th best quarterback in the league. But I think we're kind of more so on the same plane of where we kind of view him right now, right?
Yeah, I think he's going to climb into top 10 and knocking on the door of top 5. That's what I'm thinking. If he a couple of things go the right way and things start clicking, everything starts moving, I can see him. He definitely has the potential. I see somewhere in the top 10, top 5. We're kind of like on the fringe of it. I wouldn't be surprised if he had an elite year that we're talking about, that I'm feeling like it can happen. It could break any moment. I wouldn't be surprised if he's up there like top 3, top QB in the league, and if NFL MVP type stuff. But that's where I'm at. I think he's going to be getting better at his game. His craft is just going to be a lot more, he's going to be a lot sharper. That's what I see, especially coming off the injury and the year they had. They got to be hungry. We got to come in there.
And he's got to be, more. I think I want to see that elusiveness come back. And if you look at like the 2019 games where you can kind of just pull from to where you think you can, like that's the type of performances that we want to see moving, more consistently, I guess, into like next season. So to me, like the games that stood out was that Steelers game, week 3, and I mean it was an absolute shit show for the first like quarter. I don't know how many turnovers we had. That whole game
was insane.
Was unlike
I think it was 5, wasn't it?
Seeing.
You're talking about the Steelers game, right?
I
think it was like 5.
Dude.
We had like 2 or 3 fumbles in the first half. It was insane. But I mean, the thing is, though, is like
it was more so his toughness that game, that he was just standing firm in the pocket, and that's one thing he don't get enough love for. Where this meant T.J. Watt had him on his back the entirety of that game, and Jimmy wasn't scared. And that's one thing that I will stand firm is that Jimmy doesn't get scared, dude.
No, he doesn't. And the thing is the Niners wouldn't be in the position that they were last year without Jimmy Garoppolo having those type of games, like in New Orleans, playing against the Cardinals, coming back, right, against the Cardinals when we played them at home.
Both those Cardinals games,
right,
actually.
Exactly. And then even that Steelers game, it was an uphill battle from the start. A game they should have not won at all if you look at it, and they still came back and won. So the Niners would not have been a number 1 seed. Not everything would have broke their way the way it did, to have an NFC championship game at Levi Stadium and then make it to the Super Bowl without Jimmy playing the type of game that he can play. He's a leader. He's a leader out there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was kind of exemplified in that Steelers game, where he was just getting put on his back the whole time. He made mistakes. The offense was making mistakes, but it was the ball in his hands at the very end of the game, and that was such a risky throw to Dante Pettis between like 5 defenders. It
was
like
insane.
But
I was like, "Where's he going?"
He threaded the needle. I can't lie. As soon as that ball left his hands, I'm like, that's a pick. And it went, found Dante Pettis right in his chest, and he catches that for the game-winning touchdown. But both those Cardinals game, I think the Week 9 game in Arizona on Thursday Night Football, and the Saints game were his 2 games where he was his most efficient. He looked he completely outdueled Drew Brees in the dome. Not completely, because Drew Brees had a hell of a game too. Although, our defense was a little bit depleted that game.
Right.
So those were his 2 probably best games that he played. And then, the Week 4 game versus the Browns, I feel like that was just a really efficient game as well. And then the Week 16 game against the Rams, I think also this was at home. It was on the Saturday night game. I think also speaks to like Jimmy's toughness. It's his mental toughness.
Right.
The week 3 game was more like his physical, like getting up off the ground and not being scared. But that week 16 game where, he had some kind of a up and down game. Like if I remember correctly, in the first quarter he was okay, and then like second quarter not so much, third quarter not so much, and then the fourth quarter, making those, what was it, convert on 2 3rd and 16s.
Yeah.
So it's like that just speaks to just like his mental toughness, even though he may throw some really bad picks.
Yeah.
Like you said, some Jameis Winston-esque picks.
Yeah, definitely.
He's still that he's not going to let it affect him, and I think that's also something like he's confident now. Like once he started really piecing it all together, like how confident this dude really going to be, and that's also really fucking scary and something to look forward to as a Niner fan.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's going to be scary for the league if he comes out slinging. I mean, and the way we were playing with the last year, the run game was clicking, everything was going. It could be for years to come. And I'm for one, I'm glad there's nobody else I want back there right now. So let's keep it going.
Yeah, it seems like that he's with the rest of this team. I think they know that this dude is the leader on and off the field. He just wants to play football and just win games when he's not doing Levi's commercials and shit. But that's all he wants to do is just win football games, and he's completely okay with what we're gonna run the ball down the Packers' throats and run it 30, 40 times, and how many pass attempts did he have that game? Like 8 or whatever.
Yeah.
He's completely okay with it. But if you're gonna ask him like, hey, we need you to win this game, because if you look at it this past season, like, they asked him to win that game versus the Cardinals and the Saints. He threw the team on the back, and even the both Cardinals games.
Yeah, they did.
The Week 11 game, he struggled a little bit. He threw a couple picks, but he still threw the team on his back when the defense wasn't necessarily playing that well in either one of those games. And if he doesn't just ball out in those games, like, we lose probably all 3 because they were all very close.
Right.
So,
and no number one seed. It's all domino effect. You know what I mean? Like, he did what he had to do. I trust him to do what he can do. He doesn't have to do it all the time, but he obviously can show he can put the team on his back and carry the team. I mean, that's he's got the qualities, of a leader, and he's shown it time and time again. And I don't know where people are gaining this stuff from. Honestly, even if I know we just talked about it, but I don't understand it. I don't. I think they would have still tried to discredit the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes had an off game, or this and that, or whatever the case is, and he didn't really win the game, even though they're the Super Bowl champs, let's say, in an alternate universe. But like, come on, man. Yeah. Come on. Like, look in the mirror. Yeah. I mean, enough with it. I know sports are slow, but like, let's come on. Give the man some due, something.
Oh yeah, for sure. And he outplayed Patrick Mahomes in those first 3 games or in the first 3 quarters of the Super Bowl, and didn't look so great in the fourth quarter, and then ended up overthrowing Emmanuel Sanders, which is you can't forget that. Like, it definitely happened. But there's just like we talked about, there's this need to want to declare what Jimmy Garoppolo is one way or the other, and it's okay that he remains an unknown for now. Yep. I think next season we need to kind of more so know what Jimmy is going to be moving forward. Yeah. And for Niner fans, hopefully that's a solidified top 10 quarterback, and maybe some years he's going to put it together and he's creeping up to that top 5. Right. But within that range of 5 to 10, and with some luck too, maybe he's the top 3. But that's kind of also like asking a lot. But man, any final thoughts on our Jimmy Garoppolo episode spectacular?
No, I think put some faith in the guy. I mean, we're the faithful. Let's not hate on him. I know he does things that make you wonder what's going on, but he's got the tools. He's got the traits to make this happen, and he's, like you said, not too far away from getting the Niners to the promised land. You know what I mean? Let's ride with this guy. Let's go.
Hell yeah, man! There's the return of the G, return of Jimmy G, and yeah, man, I'm completely on board. Say we're not homers here. We can call him out his mistakes. Yeah. And but also we understand that this dude, is definitely not a finished product, and it's a work in progress, and that's completely okay. But thank you guys for listening. This was our Jimmy Garoppolo episode on the West Coast Offense 49ers podcast. Remember, all of our content is on YouTube as well as Apple Podcasts. Thank you guys for listening.